Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this March 7th, 2024 Ascension Parish Council meeting. I'm going to ask Mr. Arsenault, please lead us in the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Lord, thanks for another beautiful day here at Ascension Parish. God, we pray that you would do this tonight as we discuss the goings on of our parish and we make sound decisions. God, that you would guide us and you would guide our parish forward. We pray for safe travel home. In the name of God.
Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's see, roll call, Ms. Secretary. We are missing Mr. Turner, and Mr. Robert is here. So everyone present except for Mr. Turner. Chairs additions. There are no chairs additions tonight. Public comment sign-in period. If anyone would like to speak on any of our agenda items, please come to the podium. We should have some red and green cards right there. Just fill that out with the agenda number that you'd wish to speak on. You have 3 minutes to speak. Number 5, presentations. We have a presentation for the Leadership Ascension Community Service Project, Work of Art. Cocktails and Contracts Happy Hour to be held on Thursday, March 14th at the Gonzales Civic Center. How are you?
Hi, good evening. I'm Megan Babin, and I'm here tonight with our team Work of Art. I want to thank the Parish Council and also Parish President Quintmall for affording our team this opportunity. On Thursday, March 14th, 2024, the Work of Art, a Leadership Ascension team, will host its Cocktails and Contracts Happy Hour Social. The purpose of the event is to assist the Arc of East Ascension in obtaining more contracts to employ their participants through their shredding and janitorial services. The Happy Hour Service Project will be held at the Gonzales Civic Center in Gonzales from 4 to 6 p.m. The Work of Art team is excited to have selected the Arc as it's affectionately known as our team's community service project. Our goal is to spread the word in Ascension Parish, our neighboring businesses and communities about the Arc shredding and janitorial services. Our team also wants to promote the mission of the Arc of East Ascension, which is to enhance the quality of life for persons with disabilities, their families, through services and advocacy that support choice, independence, and dignity. So we will have a lot more information at our event on that night regarding rates and a brief presentation, cocktails and hors d'oeuvres, and we're just so thankful you allowed us to have this platform. We hope to see you there. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, item number 6, Parish President's Report. Mr. Quintmall.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Council. Just wanted to touch base on some of the, certainly one of the past events most of us attended was the police jury last week in Lake Charles. Just want to let the public know it was a great opportunity for us to get out and not only do some bonding ourselves and meeting the new council and administration and having some great conversation about topics and items we have coming up in the future, but also just a time to get to know each other. And then as well, all the events and seminars that we were able to attend and learn a little bit more about parish government and the police jury system and all the events that. So it was a great event and it was a wonderful time, and we certainly missed the council individuals that were unable to attend. Want to take a brief moment and let you know that tomorrow afternoon we'll be cutting the ribbon on the Highway 30 roundabouts at the interchange. Massive for that corridor. Anybody that travels Highway 30 and stuck in the traffic understands how important this small element to the overall Highway 30 coalition that we have been pushing for years. And so we're so excited about that project kicking off, and that ribbon cutting will be tomorrow afternoon. I am excited, and I do want to mention, even though she came up here, is Megan Babin and the leadership team. You know, we have employees go through this wonderful program quite often, and usually we have somebody from parish government each year, and I just want to say how proud I am of Megan and all the past employees that have taken that journey and really developed themselves with a great group of individuals through that organization of Leadership Ascension. So I just want to throw that shout out. Also, I just want to thank the council. We had some great conversations today, and I want to stress that, and I want the public to know, and that's why I'm bringing it up. Okay, I want the public to understand and know that communication between the administration and the council is crucial. We take those opportunities when we can. It's not that I can reach every one of you all the time, but personally, I'm going to try to emphasize better communication from the administration to the council in the future so that we can get y'all's input early on. This is certainly never, ever a gotcha case, and better communication avoids that I guess, sense of that possibility even encroaching into anyone's thoughts. Speaking with many of you today, understand how passionate I am about parish government, about the administration, about my team. I take pride in them every day for everything they do every day, and that's important. And so the things that I bring to this council in improving parish government is just that. It's not to sneak anything in. It's not to do anything of that nature. It is to improve parish government's efficiencies and remove the bureaucratic roadblocks that I see from us reaching our full potential. It's okay for us to disagree, and that's great, okay? That's a wonderful thing. But the better thing is that we communicate about that and we talk about it so that I have a better understanding of where y'all are coming from and how we make those adjustments in the future. It's critical. And so I want to thank each and every one of you I had the opportunity to speak with, and all week long, because I've spoken to quite a few of you all week long. So thank you for that, Chair. Thank you for the time, obviously. And that's the end of my report.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. All right, moving on, item 7A. I'm assuming we have some family here for Ms. Guéron's. Yeah? Look, if y'all would please come up to the podium. We're going to read her resolution, and I think we have something for y'all to accept on her behalf. So we have a resolution to rename the Donaldsonville Senior Center to the Grace Renard Guerin Senior Center, whereas Grace Renard Guerin was a tireless advocate for the elderly, and Grace was a native and lifelong resident of Donaldsonville. Whereas Grace worked for the Council on Aging for 28 years, beginning as a bookkeeper and working her way up to the role of executive director. And whereas Grace was instrumental in passing a millage to help support the Ascension Council on Aging to provide meals and services to the elderly of Ascension Parish, and whereas Grace served on the Ascension of Lord Catholic Church Finance Committee, the Donaldsonville Music Club, the Donaldsonville Garden Club, president of the Donaldsonville Rotary Club, a member of the Louisiana Aging Network, Louisiana Association of Council on Aging, and the National Council on Aging. She was a member of the Governor's Task Force on Aging and a board member of the Louisiana Executive Board on Aging and Volunteer Ascension. She also served on a Capital Area Agency on Aging Advisory Board and Ascension Council on Aging Board. Upon retirement, she was honored by the state legislature for her advocacy work, and Grace passed away on January 26, 2024 at the age of 87. She leaves behind a legacy of service to her community. It's with great honor that we, the Ascension Parish Council, do hereby resolve to rename the Donaldsonville Senior Citizen as the Grace Renard Guerin Senior Citizen. So what we like to do is have y'all come through that little door, and we like to take a group picture. Or, Mr. President, would you like to add as well?
Yeah, we actually do have a plaque, so I'd like to lift that up. And
I was about to say, I know I've seen it. I wanted to make sure. There we go.
Just kind of show everybody.
She's got a key to the city. Yeah. Oh, she had to be exhausted. Yeah. If y'all want to come right here, well, we're not really elevated. Yeah, we'll go to the front. It'll work better. And we'll get one with us, and then we'll get one with just the family and the plaque.
Really, I just wanted to thank all of you on behalf of my mom for this tremendous honor. It would have meant the world to her, though her work wasn't about accolades. It really was about advocating for the elderly, and she did that with a lot of vigor. And you know, she had a lot of passion, and her work was really about service. And I think that, you know, the parish has benefited from it, and I think it will for years to come, and this is such an honor, and I can't tell you what it really means to all of us, her family. So thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, thank you all so much. Item 7B, approval of new operating budget and capital budget for Prevost Hospital.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With your permission, I'd like to introduce our board. I'll call it the new board. You all voted them in on November 21st. So,
Absolutely.
we have Mr. Falcon Meir.
Nice to meet y'all, Council.
From Donaldsonville, that's a familiar name. Tanya Mitchell,
Nice to meet you all.
she's also one of our board members. Mr. Glenn Price,
Definitely glad to see the new board and all the previous members from the board. Glad to be here.
and Dr. Sherry Mitchell Levy. Did I get them all right?
Good evening. Yes. Good evening.
Thank you. And then we have tonight Jessica Swallow, and she's the, Jessica Canning. I knew her daddy was a Swallow, but she's here to present the budget for you guys' consideration.
Okay.
Thank you. Council members, I appreciate the time tonight. The operations budget for our 2023-2024 is based off of 5-year averages off of the actuals for the past 5 years at Prevost Hospital. We adjust that seasonally due to patient access, meaning that most patients access hospital care in the winter months and not so much in the summer months. So you'll see that there's a little bit of a deviation when you look at a hospital budget. The categories, the report format that you were provided with tonight are from the annual legislative audit from 2022. And so those are actuals that are from the past 5 years audited numbers. And the capital budget numbers that we're proposing are projected for the next 5 years, which not only are required for you guys for the parish, but also required for us as hospital service districts. And so those will cover years 2023 through 2028. And with a plan to improve the facilities at Prevost, both in the current state and spending $25 million on a building and $1.55 million on the design, we're anticipating about $3.7 million if we need to remove the old building. And based on the current cash flow, this will still leave over $12 million in the hospital operating accounts. So it positions you not only well to improve the current facilities while we work through this process, but also looking into the future and the needs for the new hospital here in West Ascension Parish. With that, do you guys have any questions on the budget that was submitted?
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. PT.
How far along are we as far as, when we say new hospital? Do we have site selection yet or anything like that? Or are we just kind of making an estimate based on values and what we have?
Yes, making an estimate based on current values.
So did I hear you correct that we expect to have a $12 million surplus after we spend? So is that after the $30.2 million?
Yeah, correct, and that's given current situation, right?
Okay.
So that's not to an increase
That's
in any
without any
sales
kind of
tax and
influx
usage
or-
or any influx. That's correct.
Okay. So on the capital budget, is the board kind of leaning in the direction of a brand new facility at this time?
Address that.
So if you, at our last meeting, we actually had some experts that Jessica had brought in, and architects and engineers, and more or less they said, intuitively, what you believe is true, that it's going to be more expensive to renovate that existing building than to build a new building. So, but we still want to wait and get this documented, that puts its stamp on it and says that, and then we can take our next step, move forward, and we do the community needs assessment, and from that, we can figure out what we're gonna put in the hospital, and then we could probably start the design somewhere like that.
So don't we have a community needs assessment that was done
We
4 or
do.
5 years ago?
You're correct, and we're gonna use that information, but we're gonna also, because we're gonna spend around $30 million, I just feel it's very important to relook at that again.
Okay. Post-COVID, things change.
I'm sorry?
Post-COVID, things change.
Exactly. Things change, and then they tell me they're gonna have some industrial expansion over here on this side.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. President.
So when we were in DC Mardi Gras, obviously we met with a lot of organizations and a lot of departments at the federal government looking for funding for the possibility of a new hospital. I guess my prevision before we get into significant influx, whether it's by federal grants or state or local government being us, the important component of that is 3127, I think. When you're looking at making a regional hospital, you want to make sure that that access giving to Iberville, Assumption, and St. James is there. That connection road of 3127 is critical for that, and a connection road off of that into the proximity of that portion of Donaldsonville. And so that's the reason why we're pushing for 3127 so aggressively. And so I think when you see that, that's where we begin to develop. But some of the concepts that we're currently kind of throwing around is that not only we would have a regional hospital and of course, talking about the possibility of partnering with other hospitals to ensure that we have the appropriate doctors and things like that. And again, this is all very, very, very early, but also looking at a part of a vocational type attached to the hospital to educate people for the medical field. The medical field for women is the #1 avenue to get out of poverty for women. And so I think this would be a crucial opportunity as we're designing that to have a component of that as we build on the vocational school for the industrial jobs on the Donaldsonville High School site. And so just to kind of kick around some things and kind of let you know kind of what we're looking at, again, early in this process. But nonetheless, it takes time. These things take a lot of time, and so we want to be aggressive with some of that questioning early on. But obviously, it's a topic that we approached when we were in Washington, D.C. earlier this year. Thank you, Chair.
Do we have any other questions? Mr. Joseph.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank the board and the administration. This is the first time I've seen a budget this far out. So, I want to thank y'all for the hard work and effort of putting this in and providing this council and the administration that so the public can have an idea of what type of money they're going to take to bring Prepost Hospital up to par. And once again, I want to thank you.
All right. If there's no questions, Chair will entertain a motion. I got a motion to accept the budget by Mr. Vornado, a second by Mr. Orsino. Any objection?
Objection.
All right. We do have one objection. If we can get roll call.
And I'd like to, Chair, if you just a moment so I can explain my objection.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'll make it simple, quick. Two main reasons. I mean, the fact that engineers and architects sat down and went to that site and evaluated and said that it's clearly cheaper to tear down and rebuild the hospital than to renovate is something I completely disagree with. Without a doubt, I could get engineers and architects to see the same room and come up with complete opposite answers and information. Secondly, with the grants, President, and I do appreciate you looking out for, West Ascension and the hospital, and I know your heart's in the right place doing all this. But I will say the grants are just as prevalent, if not more available for refurbishing and redoing older buildings and older facilities, and I know that personally. With that said, it is nice to meet the board. It's nothing personal to any board members. I welcome you all, honestly, truthfully, and that's my objection. Thank you for your time.
All right. Ms. Secretary, if we can get roll call, please.
Councilman Joseph,
Yes.
Councilman Robert.
No.
Councilman Arsenault. Councilman Varnado.
Yes.
Councilman Hillingsbeck. Councilwoman Alonso. Councilman Cullen. Vice Chairman Peachy.
Yes.
Chairman Malassan.
Yes. The yeas have it. Is it 7-1? 8-1? 8-1. I'm sorry. I do apologize. Councilman Mason started to feel ill. He had to leave. So we are down to 9 of us. The yeas do have it 8-1.
Can we relook at those numbers? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Get a recount.
It's gotta be closer number.
Okay, moving on to item 7C, approval of amendment number 5 to the cooperative endeavor agreement between Ascension Parish Government and Nicholls State University, wherein the university shall provide consultant services for the Early Learning Center in Donaldsonville, Louisiana, to update the billable rate schedule, total contract amount not to exceed $1.5 million. Is Ms. Colleen there?
Good evening, Council.
Would you like to just give us a brief overview, Ms. Colleen?
Yes, of course. Last time I spoke with you all,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
We adjusted this schedule to increase the range for salaries, but as we were interviewing candidates, and we just finished at the end of last week, we finished interviewing for all the positions. We noted that we had higher qualifications for the salaries than we found in the candidates, not saying that the candidates aren't qualified, but many did not come with a Child Development Associate's certificate. And so we wanted to, if you've noticed, looking at the prior schedule versus the current one we added, there were a number of gray boxes on that column all the way to the left, and it didn't allow for us to hire anyone without that CDA. But according to child care kind of regulations, we can work with them over a 2-year period to earn that certificate, and that is allowed. So we would like to hire individuals who have high school education and child care experience, but not necessarily that certificate. So this change would allow for us to do that, and it'll allow for us to hire, kind of more broadly, so I don't have to come up again and ask for you all to change that salary
Motion
schedule.
accept.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Joseph, a second by Mr. Vornado. Do we have any more questions for Ms. Colleen? Yeah, Mr. P.T.
Ms. Colleen, as far as obtaining that CDA, can they do that through Nicholls, or is it an
Nicholls
outside
will work
program?
with them to do it. There are some specific programs that they need to go through, but some of these programs are online, and Nicholls will do that.
Okay, and is that an additional cost to this particular budget, or is that something that, have we looked at?
It will be, we allowed for that cost within our budget, but for this specific salary piece, it won't be additional.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Ms. Colleen? All right, I do have a motion and a second. Any objection? Hearing none? So moved. Thank you. All right, moving along to Personnel Committee recommendations. And at this time, I'm going to pass it over to Mr. Cullen, who's going to take us through his candidates one by one. The floor is yours, Mr. Dennis.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let's see, the committee met on February the 20th, and the following interviews were done for planning and zoning. We had two-year terms. We have Michelle Uninas.
Motion accept.
We have a motion by Mr. Oliver, a second by Mr. Hillingsbeck. Any objection? Hearing none, so moved.
Mr. Wade Shakesnyder.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Oliver, a second by Mr. Vornado. Any objection? Hearing none, so moved.
Mr. Nicholas Miller.
Motion by, I'm sorry, who's that? Was that Mr. Robert? Motion by Mr. Robert, a second by Mr. Arsenault. Any objection? Hearing none, so moved.
Mark Vila.
Motion by Mr. Robert, a second by Mr. Vornado. Any objection? Hearing none, so moved.
Next, we got Animal Services. This is a 4-year term. Fenton Lipscomb.
Motion.
We have got a motion by Mr. P.T., a second by Mr. Vornado. Any objection? Hearing none, so moved.
Charlotte Roussel.
Motion by Ms. Alonso, a second by Mr. Hillingsbeck. Any objection? Hearing none, so moved.
Next, we got Fire Protection District 3. We had a 2-year term, and we got 2 reappointments. Mr. Gary Newman.
Motion?
Motion by Mr. Joseph, second by Mr. PT. Any objection? Hearing none, so moved.
And next, we got Mr. Cody Melanson.
Motion by Mr. Arsenault, second by Ms. Alonso. Any objection? Hearing none, so moved. Thank you there, Mr. Cullen. And,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
look, and so everyone who's just appointed, thank y'all. It is a very thankless job. You're volunteering your time, and look, I know there's a lot of criticism we all receive. Look, this is it's not something that you should, that your efforts, should be taken for granted. So I appreciate it. All right, is it true that you're Johnny Unitas' daughter-in-law? That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. All right, moving along. Let's see, public hearing ordinances. 9A, reading of an ordinance to amend Ascension Parish Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Section 2-11, B2, and Section 2-121 through to 129 to update list of ratified positions, include specifically required by Home Rule Charter, to remove the requirement for Parish Council approval of department head pay and benefits, to create Health and Community Development Division with a ratified position of Director, Health and Community Development, and to delete the ratification requirements for all other departments, positions, subsequent sections that contain ratification language except Director, Infrastructure Director, and Director of Public Works. Mr. Dupatti.
Purpose, to amend the Ascension Parish Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 1, in general, Section 2-11B2, adopted on February 15, 2018, to remove the requirement that all filled ratified positions revert to interim appointments within existing administration, is reelected from the 4-year election cycle, and amend Chapter 2, Administration, Article 7, Departments of Parish Government, Section 2-121 through 2-129, adopted on February 19, 2004, to update the list of ratified positions to include those specifically required by the Home Rule Charter. Chief Administrative Officer, Chief Financial Officer, Treasurer, and Parish Secretary. Remove the requirement for Parish Council approval of department head pay and benefits, create the Health and Community Development Division with the ratified position of Director, Health and Community Development, and delete the ratification requirement for all other departments and positions and subsequent sections that contain ratification language except Director, Infrastructure Division, and Director of Public Works Department. Whereas the Parish of Ascension through the Ascension Parish Council, under lawful session, passed an ordinance requiring the ratification of additional positions on February 19, 2004, and whereas the original ordinance was last revised August 6, 2020, whereas the Human Resources Director has prepared revisions, and whereas the Parish President has accepted and proposed the revisions to the Parish Council for review, now therefore be it ordained that the Ascension Parish Council does hereby authorize the amendment proposed by the Human Resources Department and submitted by the Parish President attached here to and made a part hereof as Exhibit A. Effective date, this ordinance shall be in full effect as permitted by law. The ordinance having been submitted to a vote, the vote thereon is as follows.
Chair will entertain a motion for public hearing. That motion to open public hearing by Mr. Arsenault, a second by Mr. Vornado. We do have one public speaker, Ms. Michelle Unitas. You have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Hi. So I am not entirely speaking out as opposed to this ordinance, because there are parts of it that need to happen. While I agree with the parish president that we do need to be able to streamline and grow as the parish is growing and the industry comes in, but and we all have seen what a contentious council and the president's relationship has been in the past. We have a very amenable one this time. You all have entered into these positions to give due diligence to taxpayer dollars and the running of the parish and protecting the people and accountability and all of that. So, so my contention with this is that as an ordinance, you're setting in place something that's going to affect not only this presidency, but any presidency moving forward. You're giving up a piece of your oversight for budgetary things, for things that you're chartered to do in the actual charter, in the home rule charter. You could oversee any and all compensation packages for any employee according to the home rule charter. So your limitation to doing it for the department heads and those appointed in the home rule charter is actually a smaller piece than it could be. So we don't know what the future holds for us. I do know that we have big changes coming. If we make this small change now, you're giving up some of your oversight authority. We have the ITEP changes that have come, the executive order that came from the governor that's changing how tax dollars come into the parish. How developers coming in have to provide for, employment and influx to our budget. And budget has always been a big thing, especially the operations budget. So the more that we have no oversight in the budget, you can't control the bloat, you can't control the bureaucratic growth. I know we need things done, we need things to help the parish president do his job and execute dollars, but it's your job as the council to make sure that you keep the power of your checks and your balances to make sure that we're doing right by our taxpayers and we're not creating a situation where we may need to change tax things, and create more taxes, and affect everybody's bottom line.
All right, thank you. Chair, entertain motion to close public hearing. No. Got a motion by Mr. Vornado and a second by Mr. Hillingsberg. All right, at this time, so what I like to do is
I'd like to, if you, make comment.
yeah. No, Mr. Robert, I'm trying to get us in the habit.
That's fine, if you can get me back whenever you.
Let's make a motion for discussion, to open discussion. So if you take that motion, I'll get you a second.
I will take that motion.
Okay. Mr. Robert, motion for discussion, a second by Mr. Vornado. I'm just trying to be more proper. We don't always do that, and we should. So, floor is yours, Mr. Robert.
As far as this particular ordinance and this particular legislation, I see two sides of it. One side being, she's right. I mean, you're taking away our checks and balances, our overview, our oversight. And I will say that I overall disagree with it because of that. But with that said, I want to explain and make sure I stress to the administration and to my fellow councilmen. I feel like as a parish president or as an administrator, as anyone that is running a crew, running departments, running a parish, running a company, whatever it is, should be able to pick their team. They should be able to decide who plays. They should be able to decide the plays that they put into action. With that said, in those different aspects, I would never personally deny any ratification of any employees or department heads or anything that the president wants, because that's his team he's putting together, and that's what he's doing. But in the same sight, or let's say in the same breath, I don't want to give up that right to do that. If there are some crazy circumstances, or if there is something that just my constituents as a whole can't swallow for whichever reason for a particular decision being made, I want to be able to have the right to be able to stand up, or at least having that right gives me way more of a negotiating power with you. I'm not saying that I would want to argue with it for any reason, just because of the reasons I said. You should be able to pick your team, but so that's really what I had to say. I guess wrap it up there.
Okay. Anyone else? Comment? Yeah, Mr. Joseph. Huh?
I'm going to object.
Okay.
Yeah. It was like a delay effect.
Mr. Joseph.
I went through this 8 years ago, and I've been through 3 parish presidents, and just to have that authority to ratify someone and review their record, once again, I've seen other presidents do things, and so the ratification to me is very important for me to review it look at it, and, you know, once again, as the parish president wants something like it, whoever he wants, I might disagree with him, but I want to not deny him that individual. You know, that's a good open discussion we can have, but at the end of the day, that they work for him, and he is accountable for their performance, and their performance is accountable to him. So, on that, I have a objection on that myself. So,
All right.
no.
So we don't have a motion yet, so we don't have a motion yet, but yeah, Mr. Barnado.
Yeah, I kind of want to piggyback on that. The you know, we're going to have a better relationship with this administration than the last. Understand the fighting and bickering. You know, I don't think you're going to have the problems that you had in the past, but we still need those checks. And we don't know much in this ordinance also about the community. We're creating another director. We don't know what the budgetary numbers of that is. We don't know what the ramifications. Are they hiring 10 people under that person, 12 people, 2 people? Are they getting paid $100,000, $200,000? We don't know nothing with that. And I think, you know, like you said, the removal of the requirement for parish approval for pay and benefits, I mean, that just does away with the checks. So I'd make a motion to deny, vote against it, no.
Okay. All right, so we do have a motion on the floor, which is against the proposed ordinance from Mr. Barnado. We have a second from Mr. Robert. All right, before we vote, I'd like to make a comment as well. So one position that we did leave out here, and I say we as a group, not just administration, is our HR director. And I told administration that's kind of that's a consequence of our own success. Like, you know, Ms. Cason's been here. I think you just made 2 years, and so after you being here, I don't want to revert, you know, back. So at minimum, I want to include the HR director into the ordinance as written. And also there is a few pieces of language that I would like to strike. So I am making an amended motion, and that is for section 2-1, B-1, that's to leave the language for reporting to ratified positions, because I don't believe that we should have any ratified people reporting to someone who isn't ratified. It's that it's the B-1 position subject to ratified shall be in accordance with section 303, Ascension Parish Charter Code of Ordinances, and shall include any position except the parish president that has a ratified employee reporting to them. So I believe the president is the only person who should have anyone reporting to him who isn't ratified, and he's wholly elected. So that is part of the first part of my amendment that I'm gonna make. The second one is to leave intact fully in section 2-121, 812.3, and that is, I'm sorry, and that is the paragraph that talks about the Director for Human Resources and the qualifications. I'd like to leave that there. And the last one is all the way at the bottom, section 2-128, and it talks about pay and benefits to department heads, approval required. The pay and benefits offered to any director or department head shall be approved by the governing authority. So we have pay grades, right? And each one of these positions fall in the pay grade. So I'm trying to determine if this language is significant or not, because, right, there's a minimum and a high that the HR director, the CFO can make, and we approve that via budget and ordinance. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna leave that as long, because I just feel that's redundant to what we already do in the budget. But my amendment will be on those first two sections that I talked about, and that is reporting ratified positions, reporting to unratified positions. I want to leave that language, you know, forbidding that, and I want to leave the HR director in its entirety into the ratified. So I will offer those amendments. Yeah, anybody else? If there's no second, then we'll move on to the original vote. Okay. All right, hearing no second, so we will, I did not get a second for my proposed amendment, so yes. Just the three amendments. Two amendments, I'm sorry. Okay, so Mr. Arsenault did second my proposed amendments. Are there any objection to the amendments?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we have objection. Can we do roll call, please, Ms. Secretary?
Councilman Joseph,
No.
Councilman Robert, Councilman Arsenault, Councilman Varnado,
No.
Councilman Hillingsbeck, Councilwoman Alonso, Councilman Cullen, Vice Chairman P.T., Chairman Molasson.
Yes. So the noes have it 6-3. All right, so we will revert back to the original motion on the floor, which is to deny the ordinance in its entirety as proposed. Can we do a roll call, please, Ms. Secretary?
Yeah, so to be clear, a yes is going to be to deny, a no is going to be to.
Yes.
Is
Right.
everybody
If
clear
you
on that?
if you want to deny the ordinance, you're going to vote yes, and if you support the ordinance, you will vote no.
Councilman Joseph,
Yes.
Councilman Robert,
Yes.
Councilman Arsenault, Councilman Varnado,
Yes.
Councilman Hillingsbeck, Councilwoman Alonso, Councilman Cullen, Vice Chairman P.T., Chairman Molasson.
Yes. All right, that motion fails 9-0. Okay, moving on to 9D, reading of an ordinance to approve an act of donation and accept the donation of 2 vehicles, one 2023 Ford 119 Explorer Police all-wheel drive 4-door VIN FM5K 8AB0PGB 84304 and one 2023 Ford 119 Explorer Police all-wheel drive 4-door VIN 1FM5K 8ABXPGB 84407 from Galvez Lake Volunteer Fire Department to Ascension Parish Fire District Number 1. Mr. Dupatti.
Purpose to accept via an act of donation certain property purchased by Galvez Lake Volunteer Fire Department to Ascension Parish Fire District Number 1 and owned by Ascension Parish government for the use of fire services by Ascension Parish Fire District Number 1. Whereas the Parish of Ascension agrees and acknowledges that the property is sufficient for the purpose of the operation of fire services for Ascension Parish Fire District Number 1, and whereas Ascension Parish Fire District Number 1 agrees and acknowledges that the providing of fire protection of Ascension Parish and the ability of the parish to provide services to the citizens of Ascension Parish is a value to all parties. Therefore, be it ordained that the Ascension Parish Governing Authority authorizes and accepts the donation of the following property donated from Galvez Lake Volunteer Fire Department to Ascension Parish Fire District Number 1 and owned by Ascension Parish Government as more fully described in Exhibit A, attached to the 2 and made a part hereof. This ordinance is being adopted in conformity with Section 6-01 of the Ascension Parish Charter. Clint Coymore, Parish President, is hereby authorized to sign all necessary documents on behalf of the parish. The ordinance has been submitted to vote. The vote thereon was as follows.
Motion to open public hearing by Mr. Robert, a second by Mr. P.T.
Motion to close.
Motion to close public hearing by Mr. Joseph, a second by Mr. Arsenault. Motion to move the ordinance by Mr. Robert, a second by Mr. Hillingsbeck. Any objection? Hearing none, so moved. 9G, reading of an ordinance to declare miscellaneous movable equipment surplus. Mr. Dupatti.
Purpose to declare surplus and authorize the sale and or transfer of miscellaneous movable equipment. Whereas the Parish of Ascension has certain assets that is surplus and no longer viable to retain, and whereas these assets no longer serve or have any public purpose, and whereas the Parish of Ascension desires to declare said assets as surplus and provide for the sale and or transfer of same, whereas be it ordained by the Ascension Parish Council, acting in its capacity as the governing authority, that is, it hereby declares the listing of assets attached to and made a part hereof, Exhibit A, as surplus and authorizes the sale and or transfer of the same. Severability in the event that any portion of this ordinance is ever held invalid or unconstitutional for any reason by any court of competent jurisdiction over it, such portion shall be deemed a separate, distinct, and independent provision and shall not affect the validity of the remaining portion of the ordinance. Effective date, this ordinance shall be in full effect as permitted by law. This ordinance having been submitted to a vote, the vote thereon was as follows.
We have a motion to open public hearing by Mr. P.T.
Motion closed.
No, I need a second.
Second.
A second
My bad.
by Mr. Vornado.
Motion closed.
Motion to close public hearing by Mr. Robear. A second by Mr. Hillingsbeck.
I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to move.
Motion to move the ordinance by Mr. Robear. Second by Mr. PT. Any objection? Hearing none, so moved. 9J, reading of an ordinance to amend Ascension Parish Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 1 in general, Section 2-8, Public Documents, Fee Schedule to add electronic delivery to records. Mr. DuPatti.
Purpose to amend the Ascension Parish Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 1 in general, Section 2-8, Public Documents, C, Fee Schedule. Whereas Ascension Parish is a local government subdivision as defined by Article 6, Section 44 of the Louisiana Constitution of 1974. And whereas Parish of Ascension is the governing and responsible body over council procedures. And whereas Article 6 of the Home Rule Charter of Ascension Parish adopted May 4, 1993 identifies process and manner in which to adopt ordinances regulating the laws of this parish. And now therefore be it ordained by the Ascension Parish Governing Authority that the Code of Ordinances of Ascension Parish, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 1 in general, Section 2-8, Public Documents, C, Fee Schedule, is hereby amended to add 5 electronic delivery of records as more fully described in Exhibit A attached here to and made a part hereof. Severability in the event any portion of this ordinance is ever held invalid or unconstitutional for any reason by any court of competent jurisdiction over it, such portion shall be deemed a separate, distinct, and independent provision and shall not affect the validity of the remaining portion of the ordinance. Effective date, this ordinance shall be in full effect as permitted by law. This ordinance having been submitted to a vote, the vote thereon is as follows.
Motion to open the public hearing by Mr. Robear.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hillingsbeck.
Motion to close.
Motion to close by Mr. Vornado. A second by Mr. Joseph. Motion to move the ordinance by Mr. Robear.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hillingsbeck. Any objection? Hearing none, so moved. 9M, reading of an ordinance to purchase movable property or mobile home as part of the Beco Road purchase on behalf of East Ascension Consolidated Gravity Drainage District. Mr. DuPatti.
Purpose to purchase a certain manufactured home located at 11191 Beco Road, Santa Maria, Louisiana, as part of the purchase of the movable property due a bulkhead failure in need of repair for a purchase price of $30,401.24. Whereas East Ascension Consolidated Gravity Drainage District Number 1 desires to acquire the manufactured home as part of the movable property due to bulkhead failure needing repair, and whereas there is a need and a public purpose for the acquisition of certain movable property, and whereas East Ascension Consolidated Gravity Drainage District Number 1 hereby desires to acquire the movable property and authorize the parish president to do whatever is necessary to enter into negotiations and acquire said property, and now therefore be it ordained the Ascension Parish Consolidated Gravity Drainage District Number 1 Board and the Ascension Parish Council as the governing authority in and for the parish of Ascension does hereby authorize the acceptance, conveyance, and transfer to all rights, title, and interest in 1997 Sunshine Homes, Brookwood Manufactured Home, trade model BW 579, 18 by 76, VIN ALS 04681, located at 11191 Beco Road, Santa Maria, Louisiana 70774. Be it further ordained that Clint County Parish President is hereby authorized to execute any and all documents necessary to complete this transfer on behalf of the Parish Council. This ordinance having been submitted to a vote, the vote thereon as follows.
Anybody?
Motion.
Motion to open public hearing by Mr. Hillingsbeck. Second by Mr. PT.
Motion to close.
Motion to close by Mr. Joseph. A second by Mr. Vornado.
Motion accepted.
Motion moved by Mr. Oliver. A second by Ms. PT. Any objection? Hearing none, so moved. 9P, reading of an ordinance to amend an ordinance adopted on November 21st, 2023 to accept via cooperative endeavor agreement an act of donation certain property owned by Palo Alto Incorporated for the use of fire services by Fire District Number 2 to correct ownership from Palo Alto Incorporated and the McCall Company LLC to Palo Alto Incorporated only. Mr. DuPatti.
An ordinance adopted on November 21st, 2023 to accept via a cooperative endeavor agreement and act of donation certain property owned by Palo Alto Incorporated for the use of fire services by Fire District Number 2, whereas the Parish of Ascension through the Ascension Parish Council under lawful session adopted ordinance number on November 21st, 2023 to accept certain property, and whereas the original ordinance stated the property was owned by Palo Alto Incorporated and the McCall Company LLC when it should have stated the property was owned by Palo Alto Incorporated. Now therefore be it ordained that the Ascension Parish Council does hereby authorize the correction of the owners of the property from Palo Alto Incorporated and the McCall Company LLC to Palo Alto Incorporated only. Effective date, this ordinance shall be in full effect as permitted by law. This ordinance has been submitted to vote. The vote thereon was as follows.
We got a motion to open by Mr. Robert, a second by Mr. Arsenault. Motion closed by Mr. Robert, second by Mr. PT.
Motion accepted.
Motion moved to ordinance by Mr. Oliver with a second from Mr. Robert. Any objection? Hearing none, so moved. I have a motion to enter executive session by Mr. PT, a second by Mr. Vornado. Roll call, Ms. Secretary.
Councilman Joseph,
Yes.
Councilman Robert,
Yes.
Councilman Arsenault, Councilman Barnado,
Yes.
Councilman Hillingsbeck, Councilwoman Alonso, Councilman Cullen, Vice Chairman PT,
Yes.
Chairman Melanson.
Yes. All right, we are in executive session.
Okay.
Those are so much peaceful, like, it does look like one of those serene spots.
Good.
I mean, did you see,
Chair, entertain a motion to reconvene.
Motion.
Got a motion to reconvene by Mr. Joseph, second by Mr. PT. We are reconvened, and Chair, entertain a motion. So we have to say the motion, just not the number. Okay, perfect. We got a motion by Mr. Alonso and a second by Mr. Vornado. Any objection? Hearing none, so moved. All right. Can I get a motion to re-enter executive session? Motion to re-enter executive session by Ms. Alonso, second by Ms. PT. Roll call, please, Ms. Secretary.
Councilman Joseph?
Yes.
Councilman Arsenault? Councilman Robert, I'm sorry. Councilman Vornado?
Yes.
Councilman Hillingsbeck? Councilwoman Alonso? Councilman Cullen? Vice Chairman PT?
Yes.
Chairman Melanson?
Yes. We are back in executive session. Motion reconvened by Mr. Vornado, second by Mr. PT. We are reconvened. I will now look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Oliver, second by Mr. Vornado. We are adjourned. We'll do 5 minutes and we'll be back for West Ascension drainage. So.